For 10,000 years, the galaxy had been silent about one name: humanity. They had vanished after the Great Collapse, leaving only ruins and stories that no one dared to believe. Children of alien races grew up hearing tales of humans, monsters wrapped in flesh, creators of suns and destroyers of worlds. Most believed those were myths, until one cold night a signal returned. The transmission came from a place called the Dead Sector, a stretch of space where no ship had ever come back alive. It was empty, without stars, filled only with drifting debris and the ghosts of lost expeditions. Explorers avoided it. Traders marked it as cursed on every star map. But now something was awake inside it. A routine patrol of the Galactic Coalition picked up the signal first. The crew of the small survey vessel Siren 3 thought it was interference, just background noise. But when the communications officer decoded it, her face went pale. The sound was clear, rhythmic, mechanical. It repeated 3 times. UHS Leviathan, status active. The captain froze. No one had heard that code prefix for 10,000 years. UHS United Human Ship. Within minutes, the Coalition's Central Command received the data burst. Across the galaxy, generals and admirals began waking up to flashing red alerts. Some refused to believe it. Others demanded immediate investigation. But deep down, they all knew what it meant. If the message was real, humanity's most powerful warship had returned. The Leviathan was a name buried in history. It was said to be the greatest ship ever built. A carrier so large that smaller vessels could land on its surface like insects. Entire fleets once followed it into battle. It carried human soldiers, automated drones, and enough firepower to destroy planets. But it had disappeared in the last battle of the human wars. No wreckage, no survivors, only silence. Now, after 10 millennia, it was sending a heartbeat. The Coalition Council assembled in an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of alien races filled the great chamber. The news screens behind them showed the decoded signal and a faint outline of an object moving in the dead sector. Admiral Thavar, an old reptilian warrior who had fought against the humans centuries ago, slammed his clawed hand on the table.
They are gone.
This is a trick. Nothing survives that long. But another voice, calm, sharp, answered. It belonged to High Commander Vilan, a silver-skinned diplomat who had studied human warfare. If it is a trick, Admiral, then who is playing it? There are no civilizations that use ancient Terran code anymore. The encryption pattern matches perfectly. Something out there has awakened, and it carries the mark of humanity. A deep silence filled the room. Finally, the Council voted to send a reconnaissance fleet. 20 ships from 6 species, fast, heavily armed, and equipped with long-range scanners. Their mission: enter the dead sector, locate the source, and confirm if the Leviathan still existed. 3 days later, they jumped into hyperspace. The fleet entered the dead sector through a wall of cosmic dust. The stars faded behind them. Only darkness remained. Their sensors began to fail one by one. Static filled the comms. Command, we are reading massive radiation ahead. Structure detected. The transmission cut off. Another ship followed the signal trail. The pilot saw something vast moving through the mist. It was not like any asteroid or ship he had seen. Its shape was layered and wide, like a floating city turned upside down. Tiny lights glimmered across its hull, flickering as if waking from a long sleep. Fleet Command, this is Patrol 2. I see it. It's enormous. Oh, stars, it's real. His voice shook. Suddenly, a low hum filled the void. Every scanner in the fleet froze. The object began to turn slowly, like a creature opening its eye after a long rest. Then came the second signal, stronger, clearer. UHS Leviathan, systems reboot complete. One by one, the fleet's ships began to lose power. Their lights dimmed, their weapons failed. The massive structure ahead released a faint glow, spreading across the surface like veins of fire. Thousands of tiny windows illuminated, outlining the ancient hull. The insignia of a forgotten era came into view. A white eagle wrapped around a blue earth symbol. The humans had returned. A few of the alien captains tried to flee, but their engines refused to start. The energy field surrounding the Leviathan disabled every modern system. It was technology so old yet so advanced that no one could understand it. Inside the darkness of the Supercarrier, something stirred. Mechanical sounds echoed through the halls. Lights flickered across ancient corridors filled with dust. A central core began to glow deep within, the heart of the Leviathan. Its AI system, Eve-09, opened its eyes for the first time in 10,000 years. Core temperature stable. Crew status unknown. Mission integrity compromised. Reboot complete. The AI scanned external space and detected the small alien fleet nearby. Eve recognized none of the vessels, new shapes, new signatures. But one thing was certain, they were not human. Unknown life forms detected. Threat level pending. Outside, the alien fleet struggled to send a distress call. Static consumed their words. Then, just before the final transmission ended, one terrified voice came through. "It's looking at us." The message reached Coalition Command an hour later. The screen showed only the faint shape of the Leviathan, miles wide, drifting slowly, its engines glowing like dying suns. Every system that entered the dead sector after that moment vanished without a trace. In the council chamber, silence filled the air once more. No one spoke. No one moved. Finally, Commander Violin whispered the words that would echo across the galaxy. "Humanity is not extinct." The massive ship drifted silently in the dead sector, wrapped in cold starlight and the dust of ages. Inside its metal walls, echoes of forgotten wars whispered like ghosts. The UHS Leviathan, humanity's last supercarrier, had awakened after 10,000 years of sleep. Its lights burned again. Its heart, the ancient AI called Eve-09, had returned to life. Deep inside the command core, giant machines hummed. Screens flickered with static before showing old human code. Across the frozen corridors, maintenance drones crawled to their posts. Systems once buried in darkness started breathing again. The ship that had outlived its species began to remember who it was. Power levels at 42%. Reactor stable. Crew status inactive. The AI's voice echoed through the empty halls. In the cryogenic bay, hundreds of glass pods stood in silence, each one holding what was once a member of the Leviathan's crew. Most of them were long gone, dust and echoes of bones. But one pod still glowed faintly. Eve focused all her power on it. The pod hissed open, releasing a cloud of frost. A man gasped for air, falling forward with trembling hands. His lungs burned. His vision blurred, but his instincts were sharp. Admiral Elias Ward had awakened. He looked around slowly, eyes adjusting to the dim blue light. The air smelled of age and oil. Memories returned in fragments. War, fire, the fall of Earth, the sound of his crew's last screams. Then nothing. A voice spoke softly through the speakers. "Welcome back, Admiral Ward. You've been asleep for 10,206 years." Ward froze. "Say that again." "You are the last registered human on board the UHS Leviathan. All others, deceased." His chest tightened. He clenched his fists and took a long breath. "Status report, Eve. Reactor online. Core systems at 40%. Hull integrity compromised. External signals detected. Unknown ships approached and retreated upon our reactivation." Ward's eyes narrowed. "Coalition?" "Affirmative. Genetic scan confirms alien life forms. No human presence detected within known range." He leaned against the console, staring at the star map flickering in front of him. The galaxy had changed. Borders he remembered were gone. New names, new empires filled the void where the human colonies once stood. Earth, there was no trace. "Eve," he said quietly. "Locate Earth." No matching planet found. The Sol system shows complete stellar debris. Possible destruction occurred approximately 9,000 years ago. The words struck him like a blade. He closed his eyes. For a long time, he said nothing. Only the hum of ancient engines filled the air. When he finally spoke again, his voice was colder. "Then the galaxy forgot us, and they thought we would never return." "Orders, Admiral?" He straightened slowly, the weight of history on his shoulders. "Send a message," Eve paused. "Message content?" Ward stared into the black void beyond the bridge window. Then he spoke the words that would change the galaxy again. "This is the United Human Supercarrier Leviathan. Humanity endures. We are not extinct." The message burst through the darkness, carried on every frequency, every forgotten wavelength. It reached distant systems within hours, and within days it had spread across the stars. In the centers of alien civilizations, communication officers froze as the ancient human code replayed on their screens. Across the galaxy, panic began. On Avon Prime, the Council gathered in alarm. Holograms flickered across the war chamber. showing the Leviathan's silhouette floating in deep space. One ambassador whispered, "That ship was a myth." Another shook his head. No myth could speak in Terran code. No myth could shut down our fleets. Admiral Thevar, the same old reptilian veteran, hissed in anger. "You all forget what they are capable of. When humans ruled the stars, we begged for mercy, and they gave none. But Violin, the calm silver diplomat, stared at the image longer. Maybe mercy is exactly why they vanished, he said. Maybe they spared us." The room fell silent. The Leviathan's signal was being repeated across every major network. Even pirate stations picked it up. The message came again and again, each word sharper than the last. "We are not extinct." Meanwhile, on the Leviathan, Admiral Ward stood on the command bridge. The stars ahead looked different, colder, older. He could feel the emptiness of time pressing against the glass. He walked slowly to the central console and ran his hand over the metal surface. "This ship," he whispered, "was made to protect a people who no longer exist." Eve's voice softened. "Mission parameters remain active, Admiral. Protection of human legacy." He turned toward the glowing screens. "Then we protect it still." Eve responded. "New signals approaching. Coalition reconnaissance fleet." "They appear armed," Ward smirked slightly. "Of course they are." The Leviathan's external sensors came alive, showing a cluster of alien ships closing in. Their weapons charged. They hailed the Supercarrier, broadcasting in every known language. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself." "You are entering restricted territory," Ward replied calmly, his voice deep and steady. "This is Admiral Elias Ward of the United Human Fleet. You stand before the Leviathan, last guardian of Earth. Identify yourselves." There was silence for several seconds. Then the alien commander answered, his voice trembling. "Earth, that world, does not exist," Ward's gaze hardened. "Then you will tell me who destroyed it." Before they could respond, one of the alien cruisers fired a warning shot, a bright beam of energy that hit the Leviathan's shields. It did nothing. The beam scattered like rain on steel. Inside the Leviathan, Eve's systems reacted instantly. Hundreds of drone bays opened. Automated turrets extended from the hull. Red lights flooded the corridors. "Defensive mode activated." Ward raised a hand. "No, stand down." "Not yet." He watched as the alien fleet hesitated, realizing their weapons were useless. The Leviathan floated in silence, unmoved, untouchable, like a god from an ancient nightmare. Then, in a voice that echoed across all channels, Ward spoke again. "Tell your masters. Humanity sleeps no longer." The fleet broke formation and fled. Hours later, reports reached every corner of the galaxy. The Coalition had seen it. The legends were true. The human warship had returned, alive, armed, and watching. And deep within the Leviathan, Admiral Ward stared at the fading image of the alien ships. His reflection looked back from the glass, one man carrying the weight of a dead civilization. He whispered quietly, 10,000 years late. But right on time. The Leviathan turned its bow toward the heart of the galaxy. Its engines rumbled, shaking the void. The stars ahead seemed to move aside. Humanity's ghost had begun its march home. The message from the Leviathan spread faster than light could travel. Every relay station in the galaxy repeated it. Every listening post, every ship, every outpost, and all heard the same 5 words spoken in that calm human voice. Humanity endures. We are not extinct. In the beginning, most refused to believe it. But when the recordings arrived, the image of the massive ship, its hull shining with the ancient Earth insignia, disbelief turned into terror. The Galactic Coalition went into emergency lockdown. Fleets moved. Borders closed. Worlds that had not seen war in centuries began to arm themselves again. The return of humanity was no longer rumor. It was a fact written across every screen, and fear followed it everywhere. In the cold chambers of Avon Prime, the Coalition High Council gathered once more. The atmosphere was heavy with dread. Holographic images of the Leviathan hovered above the table, its size dwarfing every known warship. High Commander Violin spoke first. "The ship is active and mobile. Our probes show that it has begun moving toward central space. All contact attempts have failed. Our fleets cannot match its technology. It is older than any empire in this room, yet stronger." Thevar, the reptilian admiral, slammed his claw against the metal table. "Then we destroy it now. Before it gathers strength. Before it calls the others. Violin frowned. Others? Tevar leaned closer, his voice low and trembling. You think there was only one Leviathan? No, the humans built fleets. Entire worlds of metal. If one survived, he paused. Others may still sleep. The words sank into the council like poison. If there were more human warships hidden across the galaxy, everything they had built could collapse overnight. Violin looked at the hologram again. The ship was beautiful and terrifying, ancient and alive. We are facing the past, he said softly, and the past remembers everything. Far away, inside the Leviathan, Admiral Elias Ward stood in silence on the bridge. The stars stretched endlessly before him, unfamiliar and cold. Eve's voice echoed gently through the chamber. Incoming transmissions from multiple coalition sources. They are requesting peaceful contact. Ward said nothing. He watched as small ships flickered in the distance, scout vessels curious and afraid. Should I respond, Admiral? Ward closed his eyes. No. Let them speak first. He turned his gaze to the shattered map of the galaxy displayed on the main screen. It was unrecognizable. The great human colonies, Eden Prime, Ceres, Trion, all gone, replaced by alien empires with strange names and shifting borders. 10,000 years, he whispered, and not a single human name left. Eve paused before replying. You are the last one, Admiral. The words cut deep. He ran his hand over the control console, feeling the hum of the ship beneath his fingers. The Leviathan was his only companion now, a living memory of a civilization that no longer existed. But deep inside, something still burned, the same fire that had once driven humanity to conquer the stars. Eve began scanning for any remaining human signals, genetic, linguistic, cultural, and anything. Search initiated. He stared out the window as the ship glided silently through space. If we are the last, then we'll remind them what we were. Days passed. Across the galaxy, panic grew. Some alien races began preparing for evacuation, believing that the humans would return to finish what they started. Others formed secret alliances, hoping to strike first. In the dark corridors of power, the whispers began. The humans have returned. Their war god has awakened. The Leviathan is moving toward the core. Entire planets trembled at the name, and yet some refused to fear. On a small desert moon, a young alien historian named Rexa studied old data fragments left behind from the human era. She stared at a cracked hologram of a human family, laughing, smiling, holding a small blue flag. They were not monsters, she whispered. They were like us. She replayed the Leviathan's message again and again. The calm tone of the human admiral did not sound threatening. It sounded tired, heavy, almost sad. Rexa decided to do something unthinkable. She sent a private transmission toward the dead sector. A single question: why have you returned? Inside the Leviathan, Eve intercepted the message. Admiral, we have received a civilian transmission. Ward raised an eyebrow. Civilian? Origin, Outer Rim, Sector 7G. Identity unknown. Message reads, why have you returned? Ward stared at the stars for a long moment before answering. Send reply. Content? He hesitated. Tell them. We came home and there was no home left. Eve sent the message. Somewhere across the void, a young historian gasped when the reply arrived. But peace was not what the galaxy wanted. In a hidden war room, coalition generals debated again. Fear had twisted their reason. Tevar spoke with venom. They are moving toward the core. We cannot wait. If the Leviathan reaches populated space, every system will fall to panic. We must act now. Violin tried to stop him. You will start a war with something you cannot understand. Tevar slammed the table. Better war than extinction. And so, without permission from the full council, a secret order was given. Strike Fleet Omega. The coalition's most advanced battle group was dispatched. Hundreds of ships, thousands of soldiers, all heading straight for the Leviathan. Eve detected them before they arrived. Multiple fleets inbound, Admiral. Coalition transponders. Estimated time of contact 4 hours. Ward stood still, his expression unreadable. They come to finish what they started. Defensive mode activated. He paused, then nodded slowly. Yes, but do not fire unless they do. As the Leviathan powered up, its hull glowed with an eerie blue light. Massive cannons extended from the sides, and its shields pulsed like a heartbeat. Ward took his place in the captain's chair, eyes cold and steady. He whispered, "Let's see if they've learned anything in 10,000 years." In the distance, Strike Fleet Omega dropped out of hyperspace. The void filled with light as hundreds of ships formed up in formation. Their commander gave the order to charge weapons. The Leviathan didn't move. It simply watched. Then one nervous captain fired first. A single beam of energy tore across space and struck the Leviathan's hull. The light faded instantly, no effect. The Leviathan's defense grid came alive. Energy shimmered across its surface, and Eve's voice echoed through every ship nearby. "We warned you." The stars exploded with light as the Leviathan released a pulse. Silent, invisible, unstoppable. Within seconds, the Coalition fleet went dark. Engines failed. Weapons powered down. Their ships drifted helplessly. Ward's voice cut through the silence, broadcast to every corner of the battlefield. "We do not seek war. But if you bring it to our door again, we will remind you what war truly means." The message ended. As the Leviathan turned away, Admiral Ward whispered to himself, "Fear is the first sign they remember us." And in that moment, every ruler, soldier, and citizen across the stars understood one truth. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never sleep again. The Leviathan moved through the starfields like a silent god. Its engines burned a soft blue trail across the dark, leaving behind the quiet ruins of Strike Fleet Omega. No more shots were fired. No more challenges came. The galaxy watched from a distance, too afraid to speak. For the first time in 10,000 years, every world shared the same thought. Humanity is real. And they are awake. But Admiral Elias Ward did not feel victorious. He stood alone in the bridge, staring into the endless void. The faces of his long-dead crew haunted him. He could still remember their laughter before the war, the music that played in the mess hall, the way Earth looked from orbit, blue and alive. Now there was nothing. Eve's voice broke the silence. Admiral, Coalition signals decreasing. Fleet movement halted. Broadcast channels open and awaiting reply. Ward leaned on the console, his reflection flickering in the glass. What could I possibly say to them? Perhaps the truth, Eve said softly. He looked up at the dark horizon. They destroyed Earth, Eve. They erased us from history. What truth is left? The one they never understood, Eve replied. That humanity did not fight to rule. Humanity fought to feel alive. Ward closed his eyes. Then we show them. Across the galaxy, Coalition systems detected a sudden surge of energy. The Leviathan had begun to transmit something massive. Not a weapon, not a signal of war, but a message unlike any other. The holographic feed appeared on every planetary screen, in every space station, on every ship. Billions of beings stopped to watch. First they saw faces, human faces, recorded from ages past. Men and women smiling, working, building cities under twin suns, children playing under artificial skies on Mars, soldiers helping refugees escape burning colonies. Then the image of a blue world appeared. Earth. Its oceans shimmered, its clouds turned gold under sunlight. A voice spoke over the images, calm and deep. Admiral Ward's. To those who inherit our sky, humanity was not born for conquest. We were born for curiosity, for hope, for love. We built the Leviathan not as a weapon but as a promise, that we would always find our way back home. The transmission spread faster than light. Aliens from thousands of species watched in silence. Some wept, some refused to believe it, but none could look away. We vanished not because we were defeated, Ward continued, but because we refused to destroy the galaxy that feared us. We sealed our fleets and we slept. But now we wake to find our legacy turned to dust. You have built empires, yes, but without memory, without truth. As the message played, the Leviathan released hundreds of smaller vessels, ancient human drones, each carrying fragments of history. They spread through the stars like glowing seeds, downloading archives into local networks. The galaxy was being rewritten, the erased story of humankind restored in a single wave. On Avon Prime, High Commander Violin stood before the Great Hollow Wall, watching the message. Behind him, generals and senators argued, but their voices faded beneath the Admiral's words. When the feed ended, Violin whispered, they were never monsters. Beside him, The old reptilian Admiral Thavar sat in silence, his scales reflecting the blue light. His eyes were tired. "Then we were," he said quietly. For the first time in history, the Coalition stopped its military orders. Fleets powered down. Broadcasts of hate were replaced with recordings of Earth's music, human laughter, and the soft hum of their cities. The galaxy began to remember, but not all hearts softened. In the dark edge of the galaxy, remnants of the Outer Dominion, the ancient enemies of humanity, gathered in secret. Their leader, a tall insectoid warlord named Kraxen, hissed before his council. "They pretend to show peace," he said, "but they hide the old fire. That ship is a weapon. If the humans rise again, our kind will be erased. We must strike first." Within hours, a fleet larger than any before began moving, directly toward the Leviathan. Eve detected them first. "Admiral, unidentified ships inbound. Their signatures do not match Coalition design." "They are Dominion class." Ward's eyes hardened, so some memories refused to die. "Orders?" He looked at the map, hundreds of enemy ships approaching. The Leviathan could win, he knew, but at a cost. And if he fought, everything humanity stood for would vanish again in fire. He breathed slowly. "Open a channel." The Dominion fleet received the message seconds later. On their screens appeared the human admiral, calm, older, wearing the insignia of a forgotten world. "This is Admiral Elias Ward," he said. "I do not come for revenge. I come for remembrance. But if you attack us again, you will remember war, as it truly was." The Dominion commander snarled and ordered his ships forward. Eve's voice filled the Leviathan. "Incoming fire detected." "Hold position," Ward said. Missiles streaked across space, burning like falling stars. But before they struck, the Leviathan glowed. A wave of blue light rippled outward, swallowing the enemy fleet. One by one, the ships powered down, their engines silenced. No explosions, no screams, just silence. Ward had used something older than any weapon, the pulse of Genesis. A forgotten human creation meant not to kill, but to stop war itself. As the enemy ships drifted powerless, Ward spoke again, voice steady and echoing across the stars. "This is the legacy of humanity. Not destruction, understanding." Hours later, the Dominion fleet surrendered. Their soldiers looked out at the massive human vessel and understood what their ancestors never had, that the Leviathan was not humanity's revenge, but its memory. Across the galaxy, broadcasts from the Leviathan continued. It shared technology, history, medicine, art, gifts from a civilization that had once been feared. In time, alien worlds began building monuments not to war but to remembrance. And on the bridge of the Leviathan, Admiral Ward watched in silence. Eve's voice was soft, almost human. "Mission complete, Admiral. The galaxy remembers," he smiled faintly. "Then our work is done," Eve paused. "What are your final orders?" Ward looked toward the stars, toward the place where Earth once was. "Take us home," he whispered. The Leviathan turned, engines igniting with golden light. It began to move toward the empty region where the Sol system used to be. Behind it, millions watched, recording the final journey of the last human. As it disappeared into the horizon, Vylan's voice echoed through the Galactic Council. 10,000 years ago, they brought war. Today, they bring memory. Humanity never died. It became eternal. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the Leviathan drifted into the fading light, carrying with it the heartbeat of a world long gone, and the echo of a species that refused to be forgotten.